Yo guys, welcome back to some World of Warships, or at least the dev blog. That's where we're at today, since a new announcement was made, specifically Airship Escort coming back in random battles. As you all know, this is easily one of my favorite game modes that they've ever released. It was just so much fun. And it's coming back in update 12.8. Unfortunately, it will be in random battles. So if we skip forward here a little bit, there's some other stuff that we can talk about a little later, of course, once the update comes out. I like to wait until the update is right around the corner before looking at these things. But I have to discuss Airship Escort in random battles because we no longer have the ability to choose our loadout. We can't pick our commander. We can't spec our ship out properly to actually make the most of this very brawling focused game mode, which I think will be the main complaint when we see Airship Escort here in random battles. Even though it is a very good and fun game mode, we want to have the most fun possible, and not being able to choose our build is going to limit that. With this edition, they are making a few small changes here to it. The route has been tweaked a little bit on some of these maps. A few spawn points as well have been changed. They're also adding a little bit of a UI feature allowing you to see when you're in the friendly or enemy's airship zone and the speed of that ship. And then you're also going to get rewards based on accelerating your airship and reducing the speed of the enemies. Not huge changes, but nice to see nonetheless. And right at the end here, it does look like they will be monitoring the feedback and this implementation of Airship Escort in random battles, with the potential of reducing its frequency or even reducing certain maps in the queue at least. The goal there really seems to be they don't want to have long queue times for this additional game mode, and that's why they're putting it in the random battle playlist, which is a little disappointing to see since, of course, it being its own special game mode was a large part of the fun, speccing out a build perfectly to take advantage of the very close range brawly nature of it. And that is what I want to be talking about in today's video, a potential solution that Wargaming could, in my opinion, fairly easily implement because it's already in one of their other games. So moving over to the game World of Tanks here, I'm sure a lot of you probably saw where this is going. Improved field modifications. I have not played World of Tanks hardly at all, but what I do know is they have the option to actually slot different upgrades and then pick between those two separate upgrade and consumable slots when the battle starts. But for those of you that don't know what this exactly is, this portion of the video should explain it quite well to you.
The last group of modifications are special modifications. There are 3 of them. The first modification allows for compiling the Essentials loadout, which is an additional set of consumables and ammo to take into battle. It doesn't replace your main set, but unlocks new opportunities. During the pre-battle countdown, you can select one of the 2 loadouts. This will help you adjust to the conditions of the upcoming battle. The second special modification expands these opportunities by enabling a set of equipment and directives called the Auxiliary Loadout. You can put one piece of equipment in 2 slots for both loadouts. You won't have to pay twice. The Auxiliary Loadout is selected before the battle, just like the Essentials loadout, but you select them independently of each other. The third special modification allows you to assign a category to a second equipment slot. You can select between 2 suggested variants. The category differs from the first slot and matches the vehicle role in accordance with its battlefield objectives. For example, tanks with strong armor in addition to better durability can also increase their firepower or mobility. Medium tanks will be able to have not only the bonus to mobility, but also to survivability or scouting. At any time, you may change your mind and select a different category for the second slot. The cost of all changes within the field modification feature depends on the vehicle tier.
So that's quite a lot of customization that they've actually added to World of Tanks, and especially nice to see that it's actually available before the battle starts. You get a chance to see what map you're on. You also get a chance to see the enemy team's composition before you pick your loadout, and that can have a pretty massive impact on how you're going to play your vehicle, in this case, or potentially your ship in World of Warships. This would be an amazing addition, not only because Airship Escort being in random battles would necessitate you to choose a specific loadout to help with that brawling playstyle, but also in just general game modes. Imagine you had the opportunity to pick a loadout that would suit the camping play style that's really focused on carrier and subs addition to the game, forcing you to play relatively far back and not really allowing you to push up all that much. And then there's certain matches where those ship classes just aren't in the matchmaker in World of Warships, and then you could swap over to a bit more aggressive loadout. And I think this would be a ton of fun just in the normal game itself, let alone adding airship escort into random battles. I think this would be a perfect opportunity for Wargaming to test this out or implement this in World of Warships. And I think it would just allow for airship escort to be an extremely fun game mode, even in the random battles queue. Even if we can't specifically select everything about our ship for that game mode, at least give us something, some sort of opportunity to give us an alternate configuration that really would excel in those close quarters combat. Now jumping into game here, just to give you a bit of an example here, on my Kurfürst, I'm running the legendary upgrade. This is awful in random battles. I'm running this because I'm typically playing a lot of ranked these days, which allows me to push in. Honestly, a lot like a game mode that airship escort would allow for. So using this upgrade here would be awesome in those close quarters brawling modes, but I would not want to take it into random battles where potentially we're sniping from 20 kilometers all game thanks to carriers and subs. There, I'd much rather have main battery reload mod 3 or even range mod potentially. And so I'd love the option to swap between these two when the battle is loading up. That'd be just amazing quality of life improvement and allow for a lot more fun to be had in a lot more of these games where we don't have to rely on getting very lucky with matchmaker and maps just to have the opportunity to push in. I'm using brawling battleships as an example here, but you could definitely make this comparison with destroyers, let's say, right? Let's say we want to be playing a Kleber, for example. Well, there's certain games where we definitely want to be running a full gunboat build, not really caring, I don't have a commander here right now, but not caring about concealment very much, just going for an all-out farm. There's other times you might be more interested in having a little more concealment, maybe not buffing your range out to 16 kilometers, only going to 13. Something like that could be interesting. Or if you're someone who enjoys the legendary upgrade, the options would be wonderful to have. And currently we don't have that, and we're forced to stick with very generalized builds in random battles, and honestly pretty conservative ones that tend to account for the worst possible scenario. And I'm sure at this point a lot of you have already figured out the big problem with this only applying to equipment. The commander is a large portion of the playstyle of your ship. Here we can see a very aggressive build, not caring about concealment or extra healing because we're going to be within secondary range all the time, or at least that's the goal with this build. So we're going to gain 10% reload, we're going to get the secondary accuracy, we're going to get a ton of damage output at close range, and we're sacrificing some ability to open up from stealth and surprise someone at mid-range. We're also sacrificing some longevity here and the ability to survive to the late game and try and have an impact all the way through a long, drawn-out sniping battle. And for this to truly give the player a really good option between two different builds at the beginning of a match, I do think they'd have to implement some way of swapping your commander as well at the beginning of the battle. Allow us to change our equipment and our commander in that initial battle loading screen, because at that point I would have a commander that looks a little like this, going very, very aggressive, and then I'd have the option to swap over to a commander that looks a little more like this one, giving us that opportunity to have some of the damage upgrades, but a lot more tankiness, a lot more focused on mid-range, long-range gameplay, and not really caring nearly as much about secondaries and brawling, that kind of thing. That would really give us the freedom to play how the matchmaker is going to allow us to, because certain maps just won't allow you to play with this legendary mod. They're going to require you to take the reload mod or even range mod upgrades. Full secondary builds, as much as those are fun, hybrid builds tend to do a little better in most situations. So even in this very aggressive build for brawling it out in ranked battles, I still take aiming systems, but maybe you want to just go all out secondaries. You'd have that opportunity to swap between them in that initial load up of a match. And I think that would be just a massive improvement to the game overall. Not just for this inclusion of Airship Escort now into the random battle queue. I think it would just be an amazing update to World of Warships and allow players to have a lot more fun. You guys are going to have to let me know what you think in the comments down below, though. Definitely ask some other CCs their opinions. Maybe talk to some of the Wargaming community managers, that kind of thing. Maybe they'll add it. I can't see it being that difficult to add, considering it's already in one of their other games. I know they're different games and probably have massively different code bases, but I still just think it wouldn't be that difficult for someone to be porting that over into World of Warships and allowing for us to have a lot of flexibility in our builds. And I think that's going to do it for today's video. Just a short one here discussing some of my thoughts on Airship Escort coming back to random battles. I am very excited about it, of course, still one of my favorite game modes they've ever come up with. And unfortunately, it's in random battles, so we can't quite tailor our build exactly to it. But I think there are some solutions that Wargaming could implement. Just a matter of if they will. It is development time that they would have to take away from new lines, new maps, balancing things, adding art assets to the game, that kind of thing. Who knows? We do seem very focused on a lot of early access content these days, every 2 months. So they might not be interested in that, but I sure would love it if they took a little time away from some of the more heavy monetization aspects that they're really focused on these days and add a few quality of life changes like this to make the experience much more fun. Again, thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.